My name is Raymond Ferrero. I'm an attorney and the founder of the Family Partnership for Prevention. For nearly a decade, I have worked with children and their families suffering from substance abuse and addiction. Rare is the family untouched by drugs and alcohol. The saddest of all, however, is the addicted child, and adolescent abuse is increasing at an alarming rate. Myself, I've represented addicts as young as 12 years old and seen others as young as 9. I've seen firsthand that when a child or a family member suffers from addiction, the entire family suffers. And unfortunately, in my experience, by the time I'm involved as an attorney, the problem can be so severe that remedies are either highly costly for the family, highly complicated legally, or virtually non-existent. This is a devastating stage for any family to reach, emotionally, physically, financially. For all of these reasons and more, I developed this program through the Family Partnership for Prevention to specifically answer those confusing questions, to create dialogue concerning a topic often difficult to discuss, to educate not only the child, but the parent, the person who really can make the most difference in a child's life. I truly feel that we must reach children sooner, talk more openly, and thoroughly educate ourselves. Studies have shown that this type of dialogue is the path to prevention. In this CD, you will find 3 important elements to create a solid platform for dialogue in your own family: education, advice, and reality. First, you'll closely examine 17 of the most commonly abused substances in the world, some of which are prescribed by physicians. You'll examine detailed photos of each and have all the information at your fingertips to identify these drugs. Plus, you'll learn their history, how they are introduced into the body, the effect and duration of each of these drugs, and the long and short-term medical consequences of the drugs. Next, you'll hear advice from leading experts who specialize in treating substance abuse and specifically adolescent substance abuse. They'll answer to hard-to-ask questions and provide information that no family should be without. Finally, you'll hear firsthand from people whose lives have been forever altered by substance abuse and addiction. I thank you for joining the Family Partnership for Prevention and hope that this informative CD in some way will help to prevent drug abuse from impacting the ones you love.
It kind of started with Jason having a substantially erratic behavior, glassy eyes. I happened to notice his eyes being very glassy. My wife would ask me sometimes, did you take $20 out of my wallet? And I'd say, no, I didn't take any money out of your wallet. And then after a while, we began to realize that Jason was taking money out of her purse. And we just noticed him staying out. The friends he was associating with was really just a bad scene. In the very beginning, we had several talks, Jason and I, as it related to drugs. And in the beginning, I didn't, I guess you might say, take it as seriously as I should have. When it got to crack cocaine, he was telling me that he was actually hearing voices calling him. But I really didn't, you might say, I don't want to say give it much credibility because of my knowledge of drugs. I have knowledge of drugs. And I just, you might say, lived in a little bit of denial that he was doing that much, but he was doing a lot. And it got to the point where it just got out of hand. I guess you might say I did drop the ball in that area too. By not, I don't want to say disciplining him, but by maybe instructing him or guiding him. And you might say I dropped the ball in that area. I know it started with marijuana. He was doing marijuana with several of his friends. And there for a while he was invading houses, robbing homes and stuff like that when he was very, very young. And you know, from there it went into drinking, and then from there it went into crack cocaine. And the crack cocaine was the ultimate one that broke the camel's back, you might say, because from there it went just, it was absolutely devastating for both Paula and I. And my life personally has been impacted by our son using drugs as it relates to, you might say, just a living nightmare. He would have times when he wouldn't come home very late at night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. There were times that he'd come home beaten up. And as a matter of fact, I can remember one incident when he came home and he was really, really severely beaten. And I opened the door and he was standing there, and I says, "You okay, Jace?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm okay, Dad." He said, "But they messed up the car." So I went out and looked at the car, and they took baseball bats to it and really beat it up pretty bad. You're constantly on fear when your child is involved in drugs. You're in fear of his life. My wife and I were very concerned that somebody was going to kill him. Yeah, there were incidents. As a matter of fact, there was one night when both Paul and I picked him up, and he was so close to being killed. As a matter of fact, he even told me subsequent to this in particular event that someone was holding a razor, getting ready to kill him in a van. We'd been going through crack towns, my wife and I, to pick up Jason, in the middle of the night, and there were a number of times where we would be confronted with crack pushers, and we would be it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming as it relates to what was going on, and picking him up in, like I said, crack houses with no shoes, no shirt, finding him all hours of the night. Yeah, my wife and I have a Christian bookstore, and Jason would, in his hunt for crack, would need money, of course, and he would come over to the store and he would throw a block through the door and break the glass, go in, steal the jewelry, pawn it, get the money he needed for his crack cocaine, and then when he would come home, after he'd come home off of his crack binge, I'd say, "Okay, Jason, where'd you bring the gold?" So I would Jason would take me to the pawn shop, and we'd buy it and bring it back. Yes, my story is a happy one at this point in time. We're looking at Jason, my wife and I, and we're elated with the fact that he's been delivered and he's doing okay. But we don't ever want to let our guard down. We still pray for our kids every day. Every day. We prayed for them this morning. We pray for our children every day. That there's that hedge of protection over them, that the forces of evil can't take them out, because the forces of evil are taking a lot of people out today.
A lot of people use. I know that. I couldn't really give you a percentage or nothing like that, because a lot of people use, but if I was to range of age, I'd probably say about anywhere from like 8 to 11 starting. I was like 11 years old, and I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, and I guess I was with my friends one day, and they had some marijuana, so they just offered me some, and I just picked it up, tried it. I guess I liked it, and I just stayed with it ever since then. I've tried coke, and that's about it. Just marijuana and coke. In the beginning, I was just curious, I guess, and then I liked the feeling, so I guess I was just looking for that feeling every day, so I just kept on smoking. I smoked probably 3-4 blunts a day, and that was daily, like 7 days a week. A blunt is like a cigar, but like split open, and they put the weed in there and they just roll it, and instead of a joint, it's a blunt. I used to sell weed, so I just read up on some weed, and I had it all bagged up, and one of my friends was with me, and we were already high, so we decided to go get another cigar and roll a blunt because I wanted to smoke some more weed. So we were on bikes, and we went up to the store. I don't know, the night it was dead, not even no regular cars out in the street, and we were on the way back, and we turned into our complex, and cops just came. First it was one cop, we looked back, and like 7 other cops just came, and we weren't gonna run or nothing like that, but we tried to ditch the weed, but they had cops looking through the bushes and stuff like that, and they had found it. So they arrested us and charged us with second-degree felony, intent to distribute narcotics within 1,000 feet of a convenience store and church. I heard too much stuff about other drugs like ecstasy. Like, personally, I'm scared to do other drugs because I heard too many stories like people trying ecstasy one time and dying. I ain't trying to die over no pill. Well, my father is an ex-heroin addict, and when we were living in Cleveland, we had a house, cars, money, credit cards, you name it, we had it. We moved to Florida. We now live in a 2-bedroom apartment. We have 1 car. We don't have credit. We don't have credit cards. We don't have money. So my father lost everything just as fast as he got it. Right now I see myself drug-free, and I plan on not going back to drugs because I've seen where drugs has gotten me, and it's like really nothing but problems for me. I mean, jail, getting locked up, stuff like that, and problems with my family. I could be out there right now getting a job, making money, stuff like that, doing something positive with myself. I just see myself staying away from my old friends, getting new friends, clean friends, and staying drug-free and positive.
My life personally, as well as the life of my family, my husband and my children, was impacted greatly by drugs due to the drug addiction of my son. We were basically the average American family, 3 children, lived a middle-class life, and truthfully, as a mother, I was in denial in the early stages, big time. We never like to think that something like that will come into our children's lives. We can look at other families, other situations, and, you know, think that maybe it impacts everyone else. It doesn't come home. Many times it starts off with, it actually seems to start off, from what my son has told me and what we've heard from other people, in middle school. Middle school is crucial. That's when the children are testing the boundaries. That's when they're really trying to find their identity, where they fit into the group. And many times, which was also a case with my son, it's the child who is the seemingly the popular child, the star of the party, the one everyone wants to be with, who seems to have all this self-esteem, where really underneath they are crying out. When you think that a child is maybe hanging out with the wrong friends, when they're, there's a lot of lying involved, a lot of lying. You want to believe them because that's your child. You want to believe the best, but underneath they'll do whatever they have to do to get what they want. I think education for the parents is something that's sadly missing. We're so into, in our society, educating our children about drugs. I think children in middle school or even in grade school probably know more about drugs than a lot of parents. Marijuana, of course, is inexpensive. They can usually do that. That's, of course, I think why a lot of children start there, either there with marijuana or with the alcohol. But when you get into the cocaine, it's more expensive, so they need money. So that's when you get into them robbing you, doing whatever they have to do, snatching purses, robbing homes, whatever they have to do to get the money so they can get the drug. As a parent, there's probably a fine line that we go through between giving a child his space and his right to privacy and between snooping as a mom. Looking back, I wish I had been more of a snoop, because if I had really been more suspicious at a younger age, I think maybe we could have nipped it in the bud a little bit more instead of it escalating to the point it did. I think that just is something that parents so many times we try and be our children's friend. We want to be liked. We want our children to like us. Sometimes we just need to play the part of the parent, and knowing in our heart that we're looking out for their best interest. Whether they like us or not at that moment, we have to look ahead of what they're doing, what it's leading to. It usually isn't a one-program fix, because mainly the child has to be at a point where they're ready to accept and acknowledge the problem themselves. So many times we as parents want to get them into a program, and we can do that. We can get them into a program, but if they're not in the right frame of mind or not at the point that they need to be to really accept that problem as their problem, it won't work. I think the biggest encouragement I could give to a mother or father is never, never give up on that child. We chose not to give up on Jason. We made a firm decision to continue to believe that he would come out of this with our prayers and our encouragement and finding the right treatment and what would work for him. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends and family said, throw him out. Let him sink or swim. We chose not to do that, and I will never regret that decision.
I moved to Las Vegas and I was staying with my dad, and I got in trouble and I was sent to an alternative school. And the alternative school that I went to was a little difficult, and there was a lot of bad kids there. And I was there because it was right after Columbine or something like that, and there was this kid and he took some money from my backpack, and I went up to him and I said if he didn't give me back the money, I would kill him. And it was the wrong move to make, but I did it, and it's something that impacted my life a lot. So when I got into the alternative school, I met a lot of other kids that weren't really good kids, and they were in there for lots of different reasons. And that's when I started getting into drugs. My dad would work in the daytime, and I'd tell my grandma that I was going to go out to go play basketball, and I would go smoke weed with my friends, get high. I was about 12 at the time, about 12, maybe 13, and got into a lot of older kids that were in gangs and stuff, and I started hanging out with a lot of older kids that were into all kinds of gangs, and they were really violent. So I started getting into all that. I would, because I was the little dude out of the crowd. One time I was with a friend of mine, and we were in a store. We were caught stealing, and they called the police. It was in a Walmart. My dad was really angry because he didn't know what was going on. It was like a big shock to him, for him to find out that his son was doing something that was so big to him, and it was something that was really minor. I lived with my mom for a little bit, and she was actually really good about it. She was more caring, and she was understanding. Well, when I moved, I don't think it was the best thing. I was lonely, I guess, and I was like about 13 at the time. So I was in the 8th grade, just getting into the 8th grade, and I would walk home because we were close enough, and it would take me about 40 minutes to get home, because I would walk with other kids that were smoking weed or tripping off of some crazy stuff. So when I was caught with marijuana in my house, I was actually caught with my brother, my other brother, my youngest one. And I was high before I even got to the house. I had about a quarter blunt, and when I sat down in the room, my little brother was gonna help me out with my homework because he's a magnet student. He's in magnet school for art, so he asked me if I would smoke it with him. And I'd rather have him smoke it with me, and have him go out on the street and smoke with some other kid that like has a dirty joint or something. So I felt like if he should experiment, he should experiment with his older brother. So that day we were smoking in the house and mom caught us. That's when she started getting a little bit more tough on me. She started getting, I think I lost her trust. And not just lost her trust, but lost whatever it was that she had for me. Not the love, but whatever respect she had for me. The counseling is helping a lot. I mean, when they look at you and they talk to you about it, they tell you what's wrong, and they tell you how this hurts you, and how other teens tell you that this hurts you. How am I gonna fight the urge? Well, I mean, the same way I've been fighting it, because I actually have, a best friend that his older brother smokes weed, and I used to smoke weed with him. So whenever I see him, if he's lighting up or he's just high out of his mind, I mean, I have to think, damn, do I want to smoke that joint or have the chance of getting caught? Maybe if they drug test me tomorrow, what am I gonna say to those people? I mean, what am I gonna say to my mom? And my mom, she's actually getting my trust back. She's giving little bits back, to see if I can handle it.
This is my second program, and I basically came here from the first one because I got caught with alcohol. And I'm working really hard to get, through it. My favorite drug would have to be alcohol. I actually can get it easier than weed and all my other favorites. My first experience was when I was out with a bunch of my friends. We were just running around the neighborhood, and she's about 2 years older than me. And she's like, oh, I'm having some friends over, let's go hang out. Plus, I think it was like Christmas or something. So it was a holiday. So, of course, like everyone's parents had like a whole bunch of alcohol. So we all took something from our houses and ran to the other side of the community and just drank. Oh, when I first started smoking weed, it was around 12, 13, or 14. Me, her, and another friend all hung out and we just smoked. And I liked it and I continued. I've used, it started with cigarettes, alcohol, weed, and then it went to Xanax. Well, the street name, we call them bars and stuff like that. And I think it's a depressant. No, not a depressant. I don't know, it slows you down. I don't know, you just feel like nothing can hurt you because your body goes numb from it, and you have no sense of knowing if you hurt yourself. So, and one incident was when I came home with one of my ex-boyfriends, and my mom was on the phone, and I was laughing hysterically, and I was trying to go up the stairs, and I fell down them, and then I hit my head, and I just kept laughing, and my mom was like, what's wrong with you? What are you on? And I was like, I'm not on anything, I'm not on anything. I kept denying it. After the Xanax, it was acid and Coke. The weed was an everyday thing. I did, I would smoke 2 joints. I would pop 6 bars. I'd drink 2 beers, and I don't know, my weed, I would always lace it with the Coke. I was basically always afraid of doing Coke and acid, and I did it all of a sudden, and when I realized that those were like the ones I was afraid of, and I did them, and I was like, whoa. Hey, if I did these, imagine what else I can do, you know? It came to a point where I would like date drug dealers so I wouldn't have to pay for my drugs because like they were my boyfriends. So I basically just got whatever I wanted. I knew that the drugs I was doing could do like permanent damage, especially like the coke and the acid. The coke just messes with your brain, man. I mean, God. My mom even like showed me pictures of stuff like that, and smoking the weed, like all the stuff, the smoke in your lungs, and now they're just thinking about like relating kidney disease to marijuana. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like how much of my brain did I like kill? When I was a child at home, everything was fine, you know, we were like the Brady Bunch, you know, we were so happy and content. My parents really didn't know what was going on because my school grades really weren't that good. So when they dropped, it really didn't matter. They really didn't notice, they just thought because I was not doing homework like always. Well, I can say for a fact, yes, I was an addict. And some people may be, you know, self-conscious and say, I'm not an addict, I just smoke once in a while, or on a day-to-day basis, I'm not an addict, I'm not addicted to anything, I can quit when I want. It's not like that. To like anybody who really doesn't know anything about what's going on out there, there is a lot. I can't even say words for it. You know, it's just so chaotic. My story is pretty common, you know. Some people need a different and stronger wake-up call than others.
I had attention deficit disorder, which is ADD, and the symptoms of that to me were lack of concentration, hyperness, no, not like a lot, but a little bit, and impulsiveness. So I acted upon the first thought that came to my head, and that was a problem. So I chose the pot to slow that chain down. I was marchman acted, and which that is when your parents give up a petition and they say to the court that I'm uncontrollable and I have a drug problem and all that. So they put me in Memorial Hospital for a couple of days. I was assessed, and then I came to day treatment here. And then I couldn't stop relapsing in day treatment, which is smoking, keep on. And then they put me in residential. When I started using, I started at the age of 13, and it was with marijuana. I quit for about a year because I got kicked out of school in 8th grade. I got put in the charter school, and I was doing fine until I hit 10th grade when I was about 15 to going on 16, and then I began skipping school to get high and stuff, and it just escalated from there, and that got me in here. I've tried Xanax like twice and ecstasy once. That's it. And then my drug of choice was marijuana. When I started back up again, when I was 15, it started out to be a little, twice a week. And then escalated to every day, 3 times a day. And then I had to go to the nastiest lengths to acquire the money so I can buy it. Stealing, scams, fraud, all types of things. But I've never been caught though, lucky me. I've stolen from almost everybody in my family. If you had the money, I had to get it. You know, that was like a drug too. It was like an addiction. Because I like enjoy it. It didn't bother me to do it. One time I was under the influence, and the driver was high and everybody else in the car was high, and when you're under the influence, everything goes by slower. So he was going a lot faster than he should have been, and we were on 985 and got a flat tire, and we crashed into the side thing, and that was the worst experience ever. Nobody got hurt though. 100 miles an hour, nobody got hurt. At first, my parents ignored it, so they think it'd get better. They thought it was just a phase, but I have a good family. I come from a very good family, and I'm really the only one to ever mess up. So I had a good family life. I got both parents living at home. My little brother is 13, and it was just, my parents don't fight or nothing. My family life's fairly excellent. Like, it was just all me. My parents really didn't tell me that not to do drugs. They didn't really, because they thought it was just something I already knew, and I knew it was bad, and I went through the DARE program and all that stuff, and so they thought I was like ready for the temptations. Educating parents is very important because they need to know the effects of drugs and the warning signs. In my situation, the warning signs that I appeared to show to my parents that they did not figure out was I had Visine, which made my eyes not red, which is that's if your son or daughter has Visine, that's a warning sign. Cologne, I always used to use a lot of cologne, bring cologne with me everywhere, and other than that, there's really like nothing else that my dad's a pretty smart person, you know. He could be a cop or something, and I couldn't really get around him. I had to be extra careful.
When I was in 6th grade, my father passed away, and I became very depressed and very sad, and I didn't know how to handle it, like a lot of emotions. So my friend introduced me to pot, and when I smoked pot, I felt happier, and I didn't think about my father and the whole situation, so I kind of used it to cover my problems. And then when I wasn't high anymore, all the problems were still there, though, even worse. I moved on to high school, and pop just wasn't doing it for me anymore, and my friends were only doing that, and I didn't like it anymore, and I wanted to move up, so I met other friends that I guess I wouldn't call them friends, more like drug partners, and I started doing Xanax bars a lot. And when I did Xanax bars, I went through mood swings, and I became distant from my family, and I just became someone that I wasn't, and I just became out of control on it. It was like really bad, and I got arrested for possession of Xanax bars, and that's a felony. So I got in a lot of trouble with the court, and I went voluntarily into a program. So I got out, and I got in contact with some of my old drug partners, and you know, I thought I can go hang out with them, and I'm strong enough, and I don't have to do that. And they said in the program, don't go back to your old friends, don't go back to your old friends. And I said, yeah, right. And you know, that's so true, because what have I ever done with them is drugs. I never went there to go play pool with them or watch a movie with them. I went there to do drugs. And if we were playing pool or watching a movie, we were on drugs. So the whole ride there, I was like, you know, I'm cool, but I knew right when I got there I was gonna do drugs, and when I got there I did. When I was on Xanax, I liked them because they made me someone who I wasn't. Like, I'm very social and stuff always, but when I did Xanax, I thought I could do anything, I could say anything, I didn't care. And I wanted something to make me feel how I wasn't at that time. Maybe I was trying to hide from something because I never wanted to feel how I did. I just wanted to be messed up, and I guess the Xanax really didn't do anything for me now that I look at it. I mean, at the time I thought they were, but it really isn't worth it now. When you're on Xanax, you feel very slow. You feel like very out of it, and like people have different effects. Like some people are totally just can't even talk to you and are falling over, and some people are like nice. And me, I was violent, kind of. Not violent, like I wouldn't just go and hit someone, but people would agitate me a lot easier, and I'd get mad over something so little, like someone ran into me by accident, because you think you could like do anything. I thought I could like fight anyone, and it would just feel, I guess, I just liked the feeling because I just was out of it. Believe it or not, Xanax are really easy to get in some places. I mean, people sell them everywhere, and they're just little white pills. On the street, they're sold for like $1 to $3, and I mean, these people don't care if even a 10-year-old went up and bought it. As long as they're making their money, they don't care how old you are, or, you know, if how many you're buying, and you say you want 10 and you're going to take 10, which is a lot, and I've seen people do it, and they don't even know what's going on. But they don't care, the people who deal it to you, as long as they're making their money. A typical day for me would be to wake up around 3 in the afternoon, because you sleep. I slept all day. I mean, when you do Xanax, they make you very tired at the end, and you could sleep for a long time. And you're not just going to wake up and be happy, believe me. So I'd sleep till 3, be in a really bad mood. And since I was in that bad mood, I would call my friends and go and get alcohol and eat some more and smoke. And usually people drink and smoke with the Xanax, because for me, if I just took the Xanax, I would just fall asleep. So I drank with it to make my high better, which is really bad for you to mix the two, and weed, to mix all 3 of them. It's just, so I would just do that, and really I would just sit in the back of someone's house, like around a table, play cards and drink. I had no life. Now that I look at it now, it's like, how pathetic and boring is that? That was my life. I would sit around a table, drink, smoke, eat Xanax, maybe go to some parties, get police come and leave. I tried cocaine before, and I've tried ecstasy before, and those are very addicting drugs, so I stayed away from those, I guess. Bars are addicting too, but I just kind of hooked onto those. But all the other drugs I really wasn't interested in. But I knew a lot of people that did them, and I've been to places where they were. The worst experience I had was I was on a couple bars one night, and I was drunk and high and everything, and my friend like made me really upset. So I don't know why I decided to take a bottle of aspirin like in front of him, and there were other people there. He was like a good friend. I was just upset, and I was just over nothing, because I was on the bars and they were just taking over me, and I grabbed the bottle of aspirin and ate the whole thing. I ate like 90 aspirin for nothing. I'm not suicidal. I wasn't trying to kill myself. And so I took him to make him feel bad. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I had to go to the hospital. I got my stomach pumped, and they had to put charcoal down my stomach, and I woke up and they Baker acted me because they thought I was trying to kill myself. It was really bad. I was throwing up for days, and I would have never done that if I wasn't messed up, because I don't even know why I did it still to this day. I had no reason to take a bottle of aspirin to take my life, and it was just a really, really bad experience. When my mom like found out I was doing drugs and stuff, she kind of knew, but she didn't, because I kind of played it off slick. And when she did, she wanted to get me as much help as she could, but she got me help and spent all her money on me and programs, and I broke her trust, and I lost my mom's trust for a long time, and it took me a long time to get it back, and I still don't have it back, but I have done nothing to lose it. So, I mean, just because I go to a program for 3 months doesn't mean Mom's going to trust me again. So it really sucks, because I lost all my mom's trust, and that's something important to me, because how can I do anything in life if my mom doesn't trust me? So I'm earning it back still today. It's like, here, take this, you know, you've done a lot for me, and she's still paying off bills from the program. So I give her money because it's my responsibility, it's my fault. It's really about the people you hang out with, and I would have really switched friends because I knew my friends were bad, and I didn't want to let them go. They could be the nicest people in the world. They could be nice people and friendly, but it's just because you've changed your ways doesn't mean that they're going to change. So when my friends were on drugs, some of them, they'd be best friends, guys, and they would just fight, like physical fight, because they were on drugs, and they would be fighting over nothing and like seriously get hurt and fight. They've stolen stuff. Like, they've just done the stupidest things that they've gotten. I've seen so many people get arrested. There's probably a lot of people out there using. I'm not sure the exact, I'm not sure, but I'd say a lot, way up there, over maybe 50%. I mean, everyone gets into it. I've seen little, like 10-year-olds buying pot for my friends, you know, asking to buy them alcohol in the store, and it's just bad. It's everywhere, and a lot of people are doing it. I can't tell anyone to stop, and I can't tell anyone what to do, but I could say that it's your body, and you choose what to put in your body and what to do with your life. And I just wish that everyone would make the best decision for themselves. And I highly suggest that you don't use drugs. And I promise without drugs, you will have a much better life. I mean, I wasted all that. That's all wasted time, and I can't go back to it. But now I can improve what I've done and learn from it. So kind of take it as an experience. Not that I'm saying for everyone to go through it, you know, but I've learned from it. Now that I look back at the things I've done, it's like all I had when I was on drugs was bad friends, no family contact really, no school, no job. And now I've been clean for like 5 months. I have a job full time, go to school at night. I have good, sober friends. I hang out with my mom more often, and it's just, I get more out of it, and I'm a lot happier now, so.